I've written a script, because you don't get to call yourself a filmmaker unless you make films. The working title is The Tinfoil Milliner. It's a cross between an artist profile film, a steampunk studio tour, and a fly-on-the-wall doc. If you've never heard of the term foil hat, it's a derogatory term to describe conspiracy theorists. Our tinfoil milliner is an artisan, an artist, and he's fallen pretty deep down the bullshit wormhole. The film is split into two parts. In the first half, we visit the studio and we make a beautifully crafted artist profile film. The second half is a real-life documentary, and is essentially a study on what happens when you try and sell tinfoil hats in a market in Finland. First, we're going to need to work out how to make a tinfoil hat. We're going to need a whole host of hats, and as he's a 21st century Mad Hatter, the top hat seemed like a really good place to start. So to start with, I got some weird pipes off a civic electrician. I walked past him in the street and he'd chopped these out of the ground, and I said, "Are you throwing them away?" He said yes. So I took them off his hands. I think they're slightly mouldable, they bend. So I think if I take them to pieces and take the individual wires out, they're going to work really, really well for moulding wire. So zoom into my fingers. I'm teaching my 6-year-old to be a camera operator, and I think you'll agree she's doing a really rather wonderful job. Now, I was expecting this to be copper wire. It's not copper. It feels like aluminium, maybe tin, but I thought aluminium was notoriously bad at conducting electricity, so by all means mention in the comments what you think it might be, because I can't work it out. If we just unravel one, that's like solder. How cool is that? Love it. That is just so easy to bend. I'm barely using any effort on that. This is going to be absolutely incredible for moulding stuff. This is like for armature wire, for puppets, this would be amazing. And for hat moulding, for conspiracy nutters. And does it hold its form and stay in place? Yes, it does. I've been in contact with the West Finland Film Commission. They're a public body whose remit is assisting film production for free. I'll let you know how that one pans out, but generally it's my first port of call whenever I'm developing an idea. They're brilliant, and I cannot believe that resource exists. I thought I'd test it out this Halloween, because there's nothing scarier than a conspiracy theorist, anti-vaxxer, and that's why this year's Halloween costume is the tinfoil milliner. I basically now spend my weekends drawing hats. It's like being back at uni, it's wonderful. Just designing stuff for the sake of it. That's the cool thing about filmmaking. You just get to be creative and just try stuff out, and it's the best job in the world. As we're in development, I still have no paint for this film. So when I say artist profile piece, I'm thinking about Prison Da Vinci. It's a stunning work about a guy who was so compelled to paint in prison, he made human hair paintbrushes and melted Skittles for paint.
There's no greater honor than making a living out of the work that you grow from within yourself.
It's one of my favourites. I'll link it below. I've got to work out if it's even possible before I can then engage with the various craftspeople, and I'm going to try and find a camera operator. I'm going to try and find a producer who gets excited about the project and see if we can get it off the ground. Hopefully we'll be shooting in January next year, because January is historically pretty quiet when it comes to corporate filmmaking. So I'm taking the opportunity to make myself busy then. One other reason to do it would be the weather. This is Finland. So in January, February, the sea freezes and it looks absolutely incredible. Last year I went out into the archipelago while the sea was frozen, and it looks like this. So I'm sure you'll understand my scheduling decision. This is already starting to feel like the Judder Man from the Mets advert.
Beware the Judder Man, my dear, when the moon is fat.
Beware of the Judder Man. I feel like I'm making a Judder Man helmet. But it's so fun to play with. What incredibly cool stuff. After all that additional stuff, does it fit on my head? Yes, it does. I made a project when I was about 17. A very, very similar method, and if I can get my parents to send me a photo of it, I'll share it with you. Now, this is possibly, I've made it completely by eye and by feel, and I think maybe it needs a bit more detail than that, but we shall see. I want this to look steampunk. I'm not a steampunk, but I feel like the aesthetic's going to lend itself to this film quite spectacularly. Been wrestling with the idea of poking fun at the victims of the age of misinformation, and I recognise the level of arrogance required to presume that you're correct, and in both directions. But yeah, I think initially this was supposed to be a comedy because we're discussing something utterly ridiculous. But the more I wrote it, the less easy I felt about poking fun, and the more I realised that it was actually a tragic tale of someone who's kind of lost their way. So while this was written from the point of view of a comedy, I recognise that it's not that funny. Directing this and editing this sensitively is going to be an interesting challenge because it's a difficult topic. I'm sure there will be comments about how insensitive it is and how wrong I am and everything else, but then maybe that's the reason I'm making it. Maybe the debate is not over yet. It's getting even more top hatty, but it's also not very neat, and this guy's supposed to be an artisan and an artist. I think we're calling this a prototype. I really don't like it. It's really messy, it's really raggedy. I want this to be smart. I want it to feel like an artisan has made it. So the prototype has not worked at all. So we've straightened some wires. We're starting again because the first one, so this one was horrible. Really messy. It really doesn't work. But I've learned a lot, so we're going to make another one now.
Now don't worry, I'm not going to make you sit through another whole build. Here are the highlights, because I don't want to test your patience or attention span. However, if you're still here, I'll mention I am looking for a producer. I have the idea, the kit, a load of experience, the will and the energy to get it over the line, but what I lack is a decent phone book full of local talent. I've had a few preliminary chats with musicians about scoring it. Currently I'm thinking about a theremin and a black metal distortion pedal. The Milliner's workshop is on an archipelago island, so we'll open with the sound of a two-stroke engine cutting through the mist. I did something similar with singing bowls for the ice film I made last year, but you'll have to subscribe to see that one because it's coming soon.
Are you ready?
If you want to have a look at the script, please DM me, because I'd be happy to send it through.
So, we have a top hat. It's a bit shiny, it's a bit rough around the edges. I'm thinking about adding some aluminium black to it to try and balance the light in the picture. Currently there's a great big load of silver on top of my head and it's all way too bright. But generally I like it. I'm going to keep you in the loop at every stage of the process because I think this one's going to be really cool and really interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing how it develops. I hope you are too. Cheers. I'll see you on the next one.